Should I make a will? How do I draft a will? Questions that many persons ask, and you've been asking me about this. So in this video, I'm going to be speaking about the three major segments of a valid will. Stay tuned. On this channel, we simplify the law and we speak about how it impacts on our livelihood. So if you haven't already, I'm inviting you to consider subscribing right there. The more law you know, the better. In this video, I'm speaking about wills. What is a will? For those who may not know, let me just give you a definition. I'll define a will as a document which identifies and instructs how a person wants their assets to be distributed, and it takes effect upon death. Now, in a will, there are different components, and this first part, I want to speak about the identification segment. On the will, there must be a deed. This deed is to ensure that this is the last will of the person. That's the next part as well. There's the revocation clause. The revocation clause would sound something like, this is my last will and testament and I revoke all other wills. Persons make various wills, and you want to ensure that the will that is being probated is the last will of the deceased. It's going to be really bad if that deceased had certain desires and those desires weren't fulfilled. So make sure that there's a date on the will and the revocation clause. In the will as well, the person who is making the will is called a testator if it's a male, or testatrix if it's a female. The name of the testator / testatrix must be identified on the will. Further to that, you want to ensure that this person identifies who's the executor or the executrix. Executor being male, executrix being female. The executrix is the person who will be distributing the assets of the deceased according to the terms of the will. In all of this, you want to ensure that the person who is making the will, whose will it is, that is, has the mental capacity or the animus testandi. And I'll explain that further in some other videos. But for now, just see it as the person having the capacity they know what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be distributing their assets. And I'll explain that further. So let me just repeat. On the identification element, we want to ensure there's a date, the revocation clause, testatrix or testator's name is identified, and the executor or the executrix name is identified. Let's move on to the second component of this will. If you're getting value from the video so far, just share some love and give me a thumbs up right below there. The next part I want to speak about is the distribution element. Be mindful of this. You can't give something that you don't own. So for example, if I want to give all the monies in the treasury here in my country or in other Caribbean islands to my son, David Jr., that's not going to be a valid distribution because I don't own all of that. I could possibly give this jacket to my son. And I don't have a son just yet, you guys. I don't have a son just yet. But that's possible because it's mine. So that's what the law is. You can't give something that you don't own. Now, if you do own monies in the bank, if you own jewelry, if you own books, if you own land, if you own clothing, if you own pets, utensils, royalties, whatever it may be, those, once it belongs to you, you could distribute it to whosoever you want to benefit. And the person who's going to receive it, or the person who's going to benefit from it, is called the beneficiaries. So that's the next legal term you need to be mindful of, the beneficiaries. I want to speak about one part before I move on to my next segment. It's called the residuary clause. In this particular clause, it will speak about any assets that is not identified or listed in the will, and who you want those assets to be distributed to. Okay, so those are some important things, the beneficiaries and the residuary clause. All of my assets that are not listed is going to be distributed to that person. Alright, so let's move on to my next part. I have a will in front of me, so by now we ought to know the major parts of a will. So let's just go through this together and ensure that we're on the same page. Now, on this document, I'm seeing that there's a date. That's good. I'm also seeing that there's the name of the testator. Excellent. The name of the executor, epic. There's a revocation clause, great. I'm seeing the assets of the testator listed, wonderful. And then I'm seeing the beneficiaries also being named as to who he wants the assets to go to, wonderful, wonderful. And then I'm seeing, biggest with R, the residuary clause. Now with all of this being here. Is that the end of the will? No. The person who is making the will, the testator, that person has to sign the will at the end of everything, right at the bottom there, to just confirm that this is what he instructs and this is what he desires. When that person signs, you're going to have two or more witnesses then sign after the testator to also confirm that this is the signature of the testator. Now, I have heard persons making various comments that they would do their will by themselves or they'll go by a lawyer. Really, it's up to you to decide accordingly. Now, when you will, you see that there are certain legal terms and so. It's not just a lawyer using random words and just using legalese. These legal terms, they've been developed and proven over centuries of case laws and precedents, and they have certain meanings that would have a significant impact on the will. If you don't know what case law is and precedent, I did a video on that. You could check that one as well. So really, it depends upon you. If it is that you want to go by a lawyer, there's so many lawyers within the Caribbean jurisdiction. Wherever you live, you could check that lawyer. If you want to do it for yourself, you do it for yourself. Now, I'm telling you that this video, as with my other videos, they are not legal advice. I would normally leave that in my description. So it's always best for you to seek independent legal advice. These videos are here for information purposes, educational purposes, so that you can become more informed and make better decisions, as this channel is aimed to do. I just want to say hello to Daniel Subdio, who is a great supporter and was asking about this particular topic as well. Other persons also. Daniel, hello to you. You guys, I just want you to be safe, enjoy this period of time, and we will see in my other video. Take care for now.